Well, a very good evening to you. A beautiful Sunday. It's my hope that yours has been a great one. My name is Linda Alela. Now, the president's visit to the mountain has steadily come to a close. And of course, we get to look at the aftermath of it. Take a look at the reactions that have come out of that visit, the revelations that have come out of it, but importantly, the forecast on 2027. Regarding Gachagua, the former president, as deputy president, also has, taken his way to the mountain, perhaps in what one would want to say is a counter tour. Just what fruit will it yield for him? We get to discuss that later on the broadcast, and we welcome you to be part and parcel of it. As always, the hashtag is TV47, and of course, we'll be taking a look at what it is that, of course, you have to say as we continue with the broadcast. And this is TV47 Weekend Edition. It's my pleasure to take you through first the highlights. Top tonight. Guns go for Gachagua. A church service that Gachagua was attending in Wiki Kasarani was briefly disrupted by guns.
Why the president would go to that length of sending goons inside a church to attack leaders, to attack Christians.
As the former DP went on his own Murima tour after the church service. Also tonight, 4 people confirmed dead, 4 injured after a 3-story building collapsed in Suneka, Kisii County.
Uchunguzi ifanywe na watu wachukuliwe hatua mara moja vile inawezekana.
And forsaken at home.
Tunataka tusaidike, tutoke hapa.
We tell you of how communities hosting refugees, the Turkana people, are raising fear that refugees already live a better life than the locals. Also, little is known about the sources of waters into Lake Victoria and Lake Turkana West, Pokot County. We look at the sources and the efforts done towards their conservation. My name is Linda Alela, sign language interpreter Catherine Simaloi, and TV47 Weekend Edition begins right away. On a sad note though, where 5 people have been confirmed dead and 3 others are receiving treatment at the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital after a 3-story building under construction collapsed on Sunday morning in Riamasagara, Kisii County. Andrin Kilemi has reports on the same.
On a quiet Sunday morning in Riamasagara, Kisii County, 5 lives were shattered in an instant. A 3-story building still under construction collapsed, sending shockwaves through the community. Rescue operations by local authorities, residents and emergency response teams lasted for hours as efforts were made to save those caught in the debris.
There is a fry pans, wanajenga hakuna kufili, so hiyo weight ya hiyo nyumba hakuna mahali inalalia. Tumekuwa hapa for 6 hours.
Kati niliingia ndani, niliona hii nini inashikana. Nyumba ilianguka inashikana kabisa jini kwa wall. Na hakuna mahali utaweza bitisha hata mkono, alafu uangalie uone mtu.
Kisii County Deputy Governor Elijah Obebo, who visited the scene shortly after the incident, termed the collapse a tragedy that could have been avoided. He vowed that the county government would institute a thorough investigation into the cause of the collapse.
Tungetaka kuenda ndani kufahamu ni kwa nini jengo hili limeanguka. Manake jengo hata alikuwa limeweka walls, sasa linaanza kuporomoka. Na mwenye amelalia kazi yake ajue kwamba kuanzia leo kwenda mbele chuma chake kimotoni.
Preliminary reports suggest that the building may not have met the required structural standards, raising questions about oversight and enforcement of construction regulations in the area. County officials have since suspended ongoing construction at the site and sealed off the area pending a full audit by the National Construction Authority.
Serikali imeangazia sana kufunza watu artisans. Artisans ndio wanajenga. We call them cheap labor in Kenya. So badala mtu ana hire qualified engineers wakuja kumfanyia, anatafuta watu wa artisans wenye serikali ina emphasize ndio wana supervise the whole building like this. So sheria ipitishwe kama mtu ako artisan asikuwe level ya kusimamia mambo ya engineering.
Meanwhile, the bodies of the deceased have been moved to the Kisii Teaching and Referral Hospital morgue. Andrin Kilemi, TV47.
And still on a somber note, the death toll from the fatal road accident at Daraja Sita along Kapkatet-Kericho Highway rose to 15 today. Transport CS Davis Chichir visited the accident scene and survivors at Kapkatet Hospital announcing that Alcoblow checkpoint will be reintroduced back to Kenyan roads, it being among a raft of stringent road safety measures aimed at curbing the alarming rise in road crashes across the country. Sheila Chelangat with details of that.
At the Kapkatet Hospital, emotions ran high as the families of those who died in the fatal accident that occurred along the Kaplong-Kericho Highway tried to come to terms with the reality. For the family of Samuel Kiprono B, the burden is too heavy. The death of their eldest child, who had for the first time gone home driving his car.
Hiyo siku alikuwa siku ya kwanza kukuja na gari nyumbani. Na alikuja na gari mpaka kwa nyumbani. Sasa sina maneno mingi. Ninasema tu pole kwa kijana yangu. Yeye alikuwa mwangaza wa jamii yangu.
52-year-old Charles Kitur survived the accident. He was a passenger in the lorry that was involved in the crash. Unfortunately, his son, who was the driver of the lorry, did not make it.
Na lorry ilikuwa na momentum, ilikuwa imeshika na juu ilikuwa na mzigo wa mteremko. Sasa kijana akajaribu kukata hivi. Alikata tu moja kupita kwa hiyo boda. Sasa vile alikuwa anajaribu kurudisha hiyo Nissan ilikuwa sasa imekaribia. Ikakongana. Head collision. Sasa nikastukia tu tumepinduka kwa kiti. Kaona kijana wangu
The death toll rose to 15 today. CS Transport Davis Chirchir visited the survivors of the crash and the accident scene, announcing a raft of measures to curb the alarming rise of road crashes. Among them, the reintroduction of Alcoblow checkpoints.
Kama nidhamu ni shida ya kwa sababu ya pombe, tuwasaidie wale wanataka kukunywa with denying them to drive for 1 year, fining them 100,000 or an imprisonment of up to 2 years or both.
Meanwhile, for the families affected, they are appealing for government support as they navigate this painful moment. Sheila Chelangat for TV47.
Let's try to keep safe and, of course, be careful on the roads. Now, a police officer in Karachuonyo has allegedly killed his 3 children before hanging himself. The 30-year-old police officer based in Marsabit allegedly killed himself and 3 children on Sunday afternoon by allegedly poisoning the 3 children, 2 of his and his nephew. Chichi Josephine with more on that.
A somber mood engulfed Kagoga village in Karachuonyo after a Marsabit-based police officer who hails from Karachuonyo in Homa Bay County allegedly poisoned 3 children before he died by suicide in his house. According to preliminary investigations, the officer, identified as David Okebe, reportedly poisoned 2 of his children, a 6-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, as well as a 5-year-old nephew.
He was a police officer in Marsabit, and due to family issues that were accumulated and were not able to be solved from either of the sides, especially from the in-laws that he really sought advice or support from. It happened that he couldn't control or manage everything, but he later resolved to taking his life, the life of his 2 children, and 1 of the in-laws.
Okebe is alleged to have had a long-standing domestic disputes with his wife and in-laws, with efforts to resolve the issues proving unsuccessful.
This could have been prevented if the families of the officer and maybe the other members of the family could have come together and listen and solve the issue. That could not be, we could not be meeting today in this unfortunate incident.
Confirming the incident, Homa Bay County Police Commander Lawrence Koilema said that preliminary reports indicated that Okebe fed the children with poison and later hanged himself, urging members of the public to seek peaceful ways of resolving domestic conflicts.
We are not sure what he used to kill the children, but that can be established by further investigations. We can't say it now because there is something is oozing from the nose.
The bodies of the deceased were taken to Homa Bay Teaching and Referral Hospital mortuary as investigations continue. Chichi, Josephine, TV47.
Now, unknown individuals Sunday morning tried to interrupt a church service that former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was attending at a PCEA Mwiki Church in Kasarani constituency, bringing the church service to a standstill. According to Gachagua's allies, the operation was pre-planned to disrupt his church attendance, where he was expected to address about his former boss' week-long Mount Kenya development tour. Our political reporter Mike Agungu with the details of that.
Sunday morning, the church service at Kasarani's PCEA Mwiki Church degenerated into turmoil when unidentified thugs broke into the sanctuary, where former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was present. The congregation's safety was momentarily jeopardized when Gachagua and his allies arrived for the Sunday service, following disruption from what the leaders believe was orchestrated operation by their competitors.
So tafadhali, Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya, wewe leo ndio umepatia vijana pesa kupitia Sakaja na ukaambia DIG I withdraw security. Na nia yao haikukuwa kuharibu madhabahu. Walikuwa wametuma paka tuko na watu ambao wako na bunduki, walikuwa wametuma waje paka hapa wamtoe Rigathi Gachagua akiwa madhabahu, ati wambebe juu na juu.
So wewe rais endelea, no problem. Lakini ujue hii kitendo ya leo, uhusiano yako na kanisa ya PCA is irreparably damaged.
This was Rigathi Gachagua's first public appearance since the head of state commenced his Mount Kenya tour, as he was expected to give feedback about his former boss' remarks regarding what caused their antagonism. However, the former second-in-command, while addressing the congregation, highlighted that he had a lot to share with Kenyans, but had reserved the matter.
And I want to tell you, Rais, tafadhali, vile maneno naendelea hii Kenya, even if you eliminate Rigathi Gachagua, nothing will change. It will just complicate your politics more than it's already complicated.
Mimi nataka nikuambie Kimani Ichung'wa, umepangiwa ndani ya hiyo. Umepangiwa hapo ndani kwa hiyo kambi yenu. Na hiyo ni njia ya kutaka kukutoa.
Na tutigeda kanitha witu wigire magerio-ini ma maundu ta maria ndona Nairobi umuthi. Ati andu marathie ku disrupt service ya kanitha, it is very sad. Ni undu wa siasa, and we should never do that. Siasa itigatume tumenane. Siasa itigatume tuthukie kanitha. Nani nikenda supportire rĩrĩa Sapit araugire rĩngĩ tuoka kanitha nĩtũke mũndũ athome acoke kate.
Gachagua stated that Kenyans will resolve political disputes at the ballot in the upcoming general elections, urging his supporters to maintain their composure despite provocations.
Mimi nataka amani katika nchi hii, na vile Malala amesema tulipotolewa, niliambia watu msitoe fujo, msiende maandamano, mnyamaze, muimbe nyimbo za Mungu. Even now, tukiwa provoked, I want to ask our people to be peaceful.
And after the former DP left Kasarani, he was quick to interact with Murang'a County constituents, where he highlighted his plan to form a formidable coalition with like-minded individuals in their quest to make William Ruto a one-term president.
Huyu jamaa alikuwa amepanga ile maneno alitupangia 207 ya 40 versus 1. Kwa hivyo ile kazi mimi nafanya ni kutafuta marafiki tukue pamoja. Mnataka niendelee kutafuta marafiki? Niendelee kutafuta marafiki? Tuunganishe pamoja.
Mike Kagwango, TV47.
Ndio tuweze kufanya mabadiliko.
Well, that story by Mike Kagungu, and the next one that I'm about to read will be forming the basis of our conversation this evening. A polite reminder that we'll be having Honorable Nguru Onesmus Ngogoyo, the Member of Parliament of Kajiado North, as well as the Honorable Dr. Mutunga, the Member of Parliament of Tigania. And of course, yes, we'll be telling us Tigania West, right? And also we'll be having the Professor of History as well as International Relations, Professor Macharia Monene, for the very same conversation. What next? President William Ruto's political allies have hailed praises on his just concluded visit to the Mount Kenya region, terming it as a successful trip that reaffirmed the government's commitment to national cohesion. The leaders, led by the majority leader in the Senate, Aaron Cheruiyot, as well as Farouk Kibet, thanked Mount Kenya residents for according the head of state a warm reception. He further took turns taking swipes at the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, of course berating him for what they termed as a failed plot of alienating the Mount Kenya region. They spoke during a fundraiser service that was held at St. Mary's Catholic Church in Moiben constituency.
Yule muongo mkabila ambaye tulifukuza kazi alikuwa ameuzia watu uongo mingi sana. Rais akikuja huko atapigwa, hawezi kukaribishwa, ataulizwa maswali. Nyinyi mliona TV, rais alikaribishwa au kukaribishwa? Si tunasema asante kwa ndugu zetu wa Mount Kenya na tunawaambia tuzidi kukaa pamoja hivyo. Hiyo ndio Kenya ambaye tunataka. Wajana na hiyo Kenya ambaye ule mwingine mtu muongo wa fitina na maneno mbaya anaendesha. Na unajua ubaya yake, sisi ndio tulikuwa walimu wake. Na anajaribu kutumia ile ukora yenye tulimfundisha ati kutumia kwetu sisi.
Wewe unataka kuongoza nchi, lakini matamshi yako ni ya jikoni. Matamshi yako ni ya ukabila. Wewe utaongozaje Kenya?
Naambia wale watu ya opposition wajipange sawa sawa. Kwa sababu 2027 tutakanyaga hao sawa sawa, tutapita na wao.
Well, you would want to directly translate that to kitchen politics. I don't know whether it suffices, but definitely we'll be getting to hear what is the aftermath. And most of the times, when you look at your dictionary, they will tell you the aftermath is largely about the negatives. But I mean, that is not what we'll be capitalizing on. We equally take a look at the positives that the mountain has gained out of this interesting visit, one that was really anticipated. And many argued that it is a hostile mountain. But what we have seen is probably contrary to that. What do you make of it? We welcome you to be part and parcel of the conversation. That is later opening our lines for you to interact with us. 22047 being the SMS short code at Linda_Alela TV47KE. I'll be looking at your comments as we continue. Now we proceed to the next story, where human rights activists have called for investigations into circumstances surrounding the death and an expectant refugee woman who passed on Friday afternoon following a stampede incident in Dadaab refugee camp, Garissa County, that is during a food distribution exercise. According to a police report, the 28-year-old is reported to have lost consciousness after being pushed during when chaos erupted, and it, of course, making this more of a transfer to a medical facility where she passed on.
This incident was an incident which is was avoidable because we know as the policy of WFP that whenever they are distributing food in the camps, they are supposed to look at the issue of the elderly, the children, and the pregnant woman. But a mother died.
This case which has happened was not even reported, and it's very unfortunate for even our international organizations who are based in Dadaab, because how many other cases are not reported? Sexual and gender-based violence cases are just happening and they're not reported. We are here to condemn And we want to tell you that we are coming for you without fear or favor. You will see us on the grounds, and we condemn this incident which has happened. And women's rights are human rights, and children's rights are human rights.
WFP and the UNHCR agency and also the DRS, we want to know why they are not coming out to clearly put out why this happened in this era, given that they are the ones who advocate for the safeguarding policies, the do no harm principle, where they are supposed to put the lives of those the less fortunate, those are the expecting mothers, people living with disabilities, the elderly, and all.
All right, and to the next, of course, condemning that heinous act there. And Kenya is the 5th largest refugee asylum seeker hosting country in the world. Recently, the government launched an integration plan dubbed Shirika Plan, which aims to transform camps like Kakuma, Dadaab, hosting over 800,000 refugees, into offering refugees education, healthcare, jobs, as well as documentation. But as a country, how did we actually get there? Kenya's refugee situation began to escalate in the 1990s, driven by conflicts in neighboring countries like Somalia, Sudan, and Ethiopia. The collapse of Somalia's government in 1991 led to a massive influx of refugees into Kenya, particularly into the Dadaab refugee camp. Now, over the 30 years of hosting more than 40 nationals in the camps, the refugees' situation has been impacted by several concerns. At some point, government announcing plans to close down refugee camps. In 2021, for instance, Kenya announced plans to close the camps by June 2022. But these efforts faced legal as well as logistical challenges. Well, in 2023, the government on a roadmap for the closure, emphasizing voluntary repatriation, resettlement, and of course in third countries, but a high court temporarily blocked the closure, and discussions with the UN Refugee Agency, that is UNHCR, ensued, focusing on finding humane and rights-based solutions. And that solution was the recently launched Shirika Plan, a socio-economic integration for refugees, which has elicited talks among the host communities. Mwege William did set camp in Kakuma refugee camp in Turkana, assessing the current situation there, as well as he of course proceeds to file a certain report, or this particular report, where he says forsaken at home, where the host community, the Turkana people, raises fear that refugees already live a better life than the locals, with an already ongoing conflict between the host community as well as the refugees over the limited resources available in Turkana. Take a look at this report.
With the stroke of a pen in the White House, thousands of miles away, lives are seemingly overturned. Approximately 12,000 kilometers from Washington, D.C., in Kakuma refugee camp, northwest Kenya's Turkana County, the fallout hits hard, sparking protest with refugees demonstrating against reduced food and water rations. Some protests turned violent.
Nimesikia nini marasasi. Sasa watu nakimbia. Sasa mimi naona nini polisi mingi sana kuja na marasasi. Akatupa nini tear gas.
Reportedly, the World Food Programme, which relies heavily on international contributions, has slashed rations to 40%. Refugees now receive 3 kg of cereals per person per month, with items like vegetable oil removed from the food baskets.
Tuko tayari kwenda nyumbani. Hatujakata. Licha kwamba nchi yetu iko na vita, lakini tuko tayari kwenda nyumbani kwa sababu hatutakubali kuendelea kuwa na manyanyaso.
The rise. Since it started rise in 2010 up to now. This is for others and oil. This is used. This is equivalent for 1 month when you eat. Assume for yourself. You don't have other income. somewhere. It's only this. Well, this thing enough for you.
The funding cuts have not only affected immediate humanitarian aid, but also raised concerns about long-term socio-economic integration efforts under initiatives like the Shirika Plan. Amid the crisis, the government rolled out the Shirika Plan on April 28, 2025. Launched by President William Ruto, it aims to transform camps like Kakuma into integrated settlements, offering refugees education, healthcare, jobs and documentation.
Don't plan for refugees. Kenya government plans for Kenyans. Then the refugees can benefit from the services provided to Kenyans.
If you go to Kakuma today or Turkana West, the refugees are living like kings and our people are laborers. They work in the refugee camps.
In the heart of Turkana's vast, arid landscape lies Kakuma refugee camp. Here, rows of simple shelters form neighborhoods. Kakuma 1, 2, 3, and 4, these stretching across the dust. Established in 1992, Kakuma refugee camp is one of the largest refugee camps in the world. The camp was initially created to host unaccompanied minors fleeing the civil war in Sudan. Over the years, the camp has grown to accommodate over 300,000 refugees from various countries, including Somalia, Ethiopia, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and South Sudan, among other countries. In this camp, bustling with activity, there is growing tension among its occupants. The recent cuts in the United States funding have had significant repercussions for refugees residing in this camp. In the camp's heart, we meet Nyagoa Thought, a 26-year-old mother of two. Fleeing Ethiopia's Gembele region in 2009, she's now alone after her husband returned to South Sudan. She hopes remarriage might save her children from hunger.
At least hakuna chakula imeisha huko. Sasa ndio tumekuja kupata maisha imeanza sasa huko ngumu kabisa. Sasa bila nimeona hivi cause nimekuja hapa Kenya na nilikuwa mdogo. Sasa mimi siwezi kujali cause takuja na system ya hapo Kenya. Cause kama nimeona mtu ananitesa, sasa nifanye nini? Nafadhali niendelee venye life inaweza kunisaidia.
The 26-year-old mom of 12 and 5-year-old, single-handedly raising her two children after her husband went back to his country of origin, South Sudan, shares that the recent changes in food rations greatly affected her lifestyle together with her young ones.
Kitambo bila tulikuwa hapa tulianza 2009, mambo ilikuwa mzuri sana. Tunapata chakula yetu mzuri na tutapokea mzuri. Sasa by then by this time sasa maisha yameanza kuwa ngumu kwa mimi sina msaada maana sina.
Yards away, after walking through the narrow dirt paths in the settlement, we connect with Bahati Odea, who hails from Uviria in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Hiyo kukule na kwaya hivyo wengine watashiba. Inakuwa wewe chakula imeisha, ugali imeisha. Sasa mimi ndafanya nini? Chakula hakuna. Ile yenye inapatikana tukule hiyo. Basi kifika asubuhi kama hakuna yenye imelala, mtoto anakuja mama wawa. Itatoka wapi? Hakuna imeisha. Tunaisha hapa.
With 9 children, Bahati has turned to selling mandazi to at least provide for all her school-going children. The 35-year-old says the recently introduced food rationing system is severe, forcing her children to skip school.
Unaanza jiuliza watoto watakula nini? Hata ile chakula asubuhi watoto hawapati. Kama wataka kuenda shule chai itatoka wapi? Wanavaa tu uniform wanaenda. Kuna wakati mwingine wakiomba pesa kwa shule, tunaishiwa pesa hapo itatoa wapi? Kama sijapiga hiyo mandazi niweke hapo kwa barabara. hata kiatu kununua mtoto ni shida.
At the moment, living inside the Kakuma refugee camp, it is a precarious situation. But for the refugees, it is living a day at a time. As for tomorrow, there are no plans.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The root of all this, an executive order titled Re-evaluating and Realigning United States Foreign Aid, signed by President Donald Trump in early 2025. It halted funding through US aid, which funneled over $3 billion or 387,630 million Kenya shillings annually into programs including refugee support in Kenya. Trump's decision quickly led to protest in Kakuma, with refugees up in arms over the introduced food rations occasioned by the cuts in funding. 18-year-old Malia Rek at South Sudan National is still reeling in pain after surviving 2 gunshots allegedly after being shot at by Kenyan police officers who were dispersing protesters.
Mimi naona polisi mingi sana kuja na marasasi akatupa tiagas. Kutupa tiagas hivi mimi naona mtu amepiga hapo, amepiga yeye na marasasi. Sasa mimi nataka kukimbia. Polisi kakuja kapiga mimi marasasi. Mimi kalala.
Malia is among the survivors of the March 3rd, 2025 incident where at least 5 people were injured, leaving 1 person dead according to reports.
Hata hiyo siku mwalimu kakuja, mimi nimepiga mwalimu. Mwalimu kakuja, mwalimu kaniambia siende shule. Paka hii mkono apone. Mimi nasikia mwalimu tu, mimi nimekaa nyumbani. Hata saa hii mimi nimemiss mtihani.
Thought to be among the remedies of this quagmire, recently at State House Nairobi, government rolled out a plan known as the Shirika Plan. The plan seeks to promote socio-economic inclusion by transitioning refugee camps into integrated settlements. This involves providing refugees with access to education, healthcare, employment opportunities, and documentation that enables them to participate in Kenya's socio-economic ecosystem.
And this plan is a response by the government of Kenya on how we can translate refugees and the host community's relationship into a win-win relationship.
We see deep cuts to humanitarian and development budgets worldwide, sometimes to boost domestic spending on defense and security. Please, let us not lose sight of the fact that initiatives like the Shirika Plan not only aim at putting an end to long-standing humanitarian crises, they also have a crucial stabilizing effect.
In the camp, however, many refugees read from a different script. Palwal, a largely unsung hero within the Kakuma refugee camp, has been a key champion of integration through culture and music.
But where we are at the moment, we are in Kakuma Sound Cultural Research Center, that whereby this culture is meant to bring all the different cultures them together in Kakuma so that they can have the portrait, they can have that love, that they all believe that they're all Africans.
He has worked tirelessly to foster unity among the refugees. On the other hand, a student from Masinde Muliro University holds a different perspective, particularly when it comes to the idea of being integrated by the host community, the Turkana people.
This issue of integration should be under question mark, because the government should also find a way of making sure that these hosts are good before integrating refugees, because it is added burden. Because if the government themselves are unwilling to support the host, how sure are refugees that are going to be supported?
Kukua Mkenya tutaki, tunataka tusaidike, tutoke hapa. Kwa hii jua ni kali, vumbi ndio hiyo inakuja. Ikipita hapa hata nyinyi hamwezi ongea. Tunashinda tukifunga macho, meno ndio naangalia. Haki.
In this harsh, dry, dusty town, the Turkana people partly agree with the world's sentiments. Some members of the host community believing that refugees already live a better life than the locals.
Hii wa refugee walikuja kukimbilia kwa sisi kutafuta usalama. Lakini sasa tukaharibisha alafu tuwapatie vitambulisho, naona kama ni vigumu hapo. Serikali imepoteza hapo, imepoteza network kidogo. Maana hii kambi vile sisi wenye tumeishi hapa, niliingia hawa kambi wao refugee walikuja kwa hii kambi mimi nikiwa na watoto wangapi? 3. Sasa hivi vile tunaongea na wewe nimefikisha watoto 14 na niko na wajukuu 18. Na mimi nina watoto hata wengine wana kazi. Sasa kama hawa wakambi wakipewa vitambulisho, hakika hawa ndio watasaidika. Ndio kazi itapatikana.
The community further expresses that there is already an ongoing conflict between the host community and refugees over the limited resources available in Turkana.
Naweza kuambia wakimbizi wanaishi vizuri kwa sababu wakimbizi wao wanapimiwa chakula. I think every 1 week ama every 2 weeks wanapimiwa chakula na unapata chakula yenye wanatoa chakula mzuri sana. Hiyo chakula ndio bado wanatoa, wale wako na roho mzuri wanatoa, wanasaidia pia Waturkana ndio wapate chakula ya kula.
Local leaders have warned that the refugees integration plan could lead to conflicts with the host communities already grappling with a food and water crisis.
You cannot create a program in Kenya that gives refugees preference against hosts. You definitely are inviting problems as a country.
You know, it is ridiculous. Turkana is hosting people from around 45 nationalities. But again, the government of Kenya, not just this government now, it has been there, does not take Turkana seriously.
That fear that is getting into my community is the kind of fear that is getting into me. That surely, if these people then are really integrated, how will life look like?
On the other hand, the Shirika plan is viewed as a positive step by Kenya towards supporting refugees, with the government attempting to strike a delicate balance between assisting refugees and addressing the needs of its own people, as local leaders propose solutions to resolve these decade-long predicament.
We are precarious as a county already in terms of living standards, okay? By having refugees, that burden is getting heavier. So there should be a program that tries to support the host community to be able to help the refugees.
Instead of refugees going back, the numbers are bulging every day. So this burden has to be shared across the country. Then refugees must be split into pieces, taken to various parts of the country, and be managed there. It will be good.
As it is at now, refugees themselves are fierce, Turkana people are fierce, as the leadership are fierce. So that is the situation on the ground.
What is coming out clear is that the host community understands what will work for them. Same case applies to the refugees being hosted at Kakuma refugee camp. And now, the government and stakeholders are being called upon to go back to the drawing board and come up with policies that are favorable to everyone. Mwege William for TV47, Kakuma, Turkana County.
Eye-opener of a piece by Mwege William. I'm sure that is a story that will interest Professor Macharia Munene. And when I say that, that is to acknowledge the presence of my guests tonight. They're here, ready, set for the conversation. The conversation is about the mountain, but we'll definitely want to hear what Professor has to say about that particular piece by Mwege William. But before that, it's important that we pay some bills, and therefore we take a quick short break and we come back with a gentleman.
Coming up after the break. Little is known about the sources of waters into Lake Victoria and Lake Turkana West, Pokot County. We look at the sources and the efforts done towards their conservation.
is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways.
All right, and we get straight to it. Allow me to introduce my guests this evening. Right next to me, Dr. John Mutunga, Mheshimiwa Member of Parliament of Tigania West. Thank you so much for creating a time. You've come all the way from Tigania. You'll tell us what the mountain feels like, because Tigania is largely part of the mountain, right? And therefore, we want to hear whether the people of Tigania are happy as to the visit by the President. And right next to you is Professor Macharia Munene. Professor Macharia Munene is a political historian as well as a professor of history and international relations. Thank you so much for creating time, Prof, as well as Ngogoyo Onesimus, Member of Parliament, Kajiado North. Mheshimiwa, thank you so much for creating time. When we're talking about Kajiado, we know that pretty much a neighbor of the mountain in huge ways and in other quarters, and therefore we need to understand what you make of the visit. But Prof, you have seen that story that we have carried, perhaps highlighting the concerns that we really need to be keen on as to the animosity that exists between the refugees as well as, the host communities in Turkana around Dadaab. What do you make of it, and what needs to be done to ensure that then we're able to quell this?
Well, it's a dicey situation, but it is not new.
Okay.
We have had it for a long time.
Is it by design?
Sometimes it appears to be.
Because if you're not going to address the concerns of the locals.
Because there was a time, I think, when Rafael Tuju was the minister. Remember, he told these donors, the international, if you are so concerned about them, take them to your place, into Europe and America. And because they were saying you should return some of these people. So it is a tricky situation. Refugees, by their very nature, need help.
Right.
Because they are running away from very awkward situations. And where they run to is the place that is assumed to be stable, peaceful, and able to take care of them. And for a long time, Kenya has been the place of refuge in the neighborhood, not just the Kakuma area. And so we've had South Sudanese, we have Ugandans, we had Somalis, we have Ethiopians, and occasionally some Tanzanians, but not as many. So it is a very tricky situation. So when the capacity of the host country is stretched, then of course the refugees get to feel it.
That's true.
And because now the government is duty bound to look after its people.
Wow.
But once the refugees come and you receive visitors who are in distress, you don't kick them out.
Okay.
You share the little that you have.
All right.
But the assumption has been that refugees is not a problem of the host country alone. It's an international issue.
Okay. As we sum it up, well, of course, that is quite interesting. One of the reasons why we're told that we need a peaceful nation is because of such occurrences. And I mean, we're constantly reminded that even as we play our politics, that we must make sure that we play it wise. What we have witnessed today in Kasarani, Honorable Ngukoyo, is one thing, that, of course, goons appeared to want to disrupt the church service where the former deputy president was attending. And according to his allies, this is something that has been orchestrated perhaps by officials in government, of course, to counter the moves of Refugee, not just in the city, but across the country. And after that, of course, he has well castigated it and proceeded to the parts of the mountains, something that has been seen as a counter visit after the president was there. What do you make of the situation that is playing out? And of course, after, that visit by the president that is, on this mountainside?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's my first time on the show.
Thank you.
And I appreciate just to bring you to speed on the issue that you talked about with Munene.
Right.
There are three ways of settling down refugees. One, you can repatriate them, you can integrate them, and resettle them. The governments need to know that you must not bring them in the country that they are now.
Okay.
To your issue for today.
Right.
What we have witnessed in Kasarani is one of the many incidences that we have seen the government sponsor violence. Government of Kenya, led by President William Ruto, sponsoring violence.
And you're convinced that that is the case?
I'm not convinced. I am sure it is the government of Kenya that is sponsoring violence.
Evidence-based?
Yes, evidence-based, because one, they did not. They recalled all the police officers who were there in the morning.
Okay.
No single uniformed, non-uniformed police officer who was at that residence. I happened to have accompanied the deputy president one time at a burial in Limuru. My car was attacked. I was attacked. We reported it to the Limuru officer commanding police division. Up to date, the DCI, the police have done nothing.
Right.
The IG, I'm told by a phone call yesterday, made sure that there was no police at the place where this function was supposed to happen. If not for anything, there was a church fundraiser for the security of people. One of the roles that government has is to protect people, life and people.
Okay.
They did not put any police officer. It is only the private security that the deputy president has that was able to repel, together with church members. You would see them carrying staff that are building the house there. And it's very unfortunate. This is state-sponsored violence.
Why would it be, targeting the deputy president who is...
They are all attempts to make sure that Rigathi Gachagua does not have meetings or inroads across the country.
Okay.
There is a general
But we've been seeing him do that, for the better part of the time right after his impeachment. Can we really confidently argue that way?
We can argue that way because, remember, he does not have any police officer by government. He is protected by his own private means.
Right.
This is somebody who was deprived of security. Remember, there are norms that have been there. Whenever you serve in certain offices, I serve in a constituency where the late Professor George Saitoti was the vice president. Up to date, his home is still guarded by police officers, courtesy of an office that he held in his home in Kitengela, in his home in Kiserian, his mother's house, up to date. There is still some form of protection because he served as a vice president.
And Kenyans would be curious to understand, and perhaps that would come to Professor, what form of security is Refugee entitled to, knowing the way he was the manner in which he left office? Because then we're talking about perhaps vice presidents who have exited the office, in the right manner. Of course, maybe the terms end. Perhaps, of course, is that change of by choice by the previous president or the presidents. But now we're talking about a deputy president who's been ousted, who's been taken out of office through impeachment. Does he deserve, of course, or does the Constitution dictate that as well he should enjoy this kind of security?
I think once somebody is impeached, he loses a lot of things. And so I'm not sure he's entitled to if he's properly impeached.
Right.
The problem with Refugee, there are issues as to whether it was done properly. It was a political move, and everyone could see that.
Okay.
And that's part of the reason where his popularity has gone up, because there is a perception that he was wrongfully removed. And there is a lot of information, some people admitting that they were ordered to do it. I think it was Boshola who said, he orders us to do this. And
right.
So there's question as to whether it was properly done. And since the matter is still in court, to decide whether it was properly done.
Or not.
If the court says that it was properly done, then his fate is not very nice.
Okay.
But if the court decides that it was improper, it's not that, it will not mean that he'll get the job back.
Okay.
But at least his name will be cleared a bit. And I think that's what he wants, to have his name cleared.
Okay.
And then he might be able to enjoy the
benefits.
The benefits
that come along with having held that office at some point. All right, interesting. Gladys Bose Shulei said that it was an order, but the boss himself the other day, speaking to journalists from Mount Kenya, the Mount Kenya stations, argues that at least he tried to, talk to the members of parliament, tell them, please do not take him out, but of course they could not listen. And I mean, it begs the question, just who is speaking the truth? Was it politically instigated or not? We'll be coming to that. But then again, what do you make of this, Mheshimiwa? Economic advisor to the president, Moses Kuria, on his socials says this is utterly ungodly. Leave your backward and primitive political wars out of places of worship. Today was PCA Kennel reloaded. The lightning that will strike us is still loading. Pole sana Rigathi. You see a lot of irony in his statement, but perhaps he has a point that maybe if these politicians were just going to do the business of the church in politics, maybe you would not get to witness such attacks. But it is almost certain that any time a politician hits the podium, their business is politics, whether it is in burials, whether it is in church and all that.
Thank you very much. Let me say that it is not any politician hitting the podium that simultaneously results into politics. I don't think that is the case. However, in this particular incident, there are several factors that probably we need to consider. Did the church make arrangements for security?
For security, okay.
Because it is obvious that if you have a function, you approach the security apparatus near you and you seek for protection.
Right.
That happens. If the church sought for protection, was the security of the sought by the church removed? Were they denied that kind of protection? That's the first thing. The second thing is, now, we are saying that the matter is still in court, yes. But I don't know the extent to which the Honorable Gachagua is entitled to state security. I really do not know the extent. I need to check that bit. But should the court uphold the decision of the parliament, then Honorable Gachagua cannot be even elected into any office for the next 10 years. That's the constitution. So it means, therefore, he has to even prepare himself to take care of himself. That's the first and foremost. Secondly, it is very wrong to just conclude that it is state-sponsored, hooliganism, or who saw them? Where was the planning done? Who sponsored? How was the sponsorship done? I think sometimes we get a bit careless with.
Mheshimiwa says it's evidence-based.
We would like to see that. Maybe we would like to discuss that evidence.
Substantiate.
On the authenticity of the evidence itself, the extent to which we know because if there has been incidences where probably Mheshimiwa has had, he's been attacked, if that is the case, then we need to ask ourselves who attacked him and how was the attack orchestrated, how was it planned? Knowing Gachagua, the person he is, and I want to support what the president said the other day. It is us, members of parliament, who actually requested to impeach Gachagua.
Okay.
It is not the president. The president.
So you confirm what the president said?
I completely found that, and one of Tongoro is aware of that.
Okay.
We asked in many meetings, can we be allowed to impeach this man? Because if we did not impeach Gachagua, we would have impeached all of us.
And he tried to convince you otherwise?
He was not in talking terms with many of us. He had already done away with us.
Okay.
He would come to your backyard and he would dwell on doing away with you, killing you politically.
Okay.
Of course, we know we have problems in this country. If somebody stands at the podium and says, okay, your member of parliament is not here, you see, he doesn't even come to talk to me, to support him in getting your roads done, getting your people get water, electricity and all that. So does that member of parliament go back to the community? No. Completely cut off from the community.
Okay.
So that is Gachagua. People don't know who Gachagua is. That's why it started to boil out from. And then being very trivial and specific on small issues, attacking people, calling them names, it was not necessary. Then we say, this deputy president, who is the symbol of unity in support of the presidency, is behaving this way.
Would it be wrong to argue that
for 5 years, the remaining 4 years, with him as the deputy president and survive as politicians?
So the grounds of impeachment, if we're going to go back to that, I mean, I do not remember this being mentioned as a ground of impeachment.
Of course it was.
But of course, this was raised as concern. Would we say then that, of course, having felt like, agitated at some point, members of parliament decided that hook or crook, they're going to find fault with the former deputy president so that he's impeached?
The Honorable Gachagua was not willing to mend fences with anyone.
If he did?
He just believed in being the one who contributed 47% of the government. And that was his negotiation too. To benefit his own self, not to benefit even the people. So those are the issues that we are dealing with. So if somebody can go to such an extent, it is even possible for such a person to plan for his own attack. We should not. We know.
Mheshimiwa here speaks of his car, and we witnessed what happened then, and it was quite unfortunate to have witnessed that. Why would someone, launch such an attack, or perhaps, plan such an attack?
I'm telling you, we cannot rule out that particular fact, knowing who Gachagua is.
All right, Mheshimiwa, we come back to you. I mean, he who alleges must. What the mantra is.
Yes. I want to take you back. I gave you an incident in Limuru. The deputy president and I and a number of other members of parliament were attacked. I have a no-B number. A file was opened. Nothing has been done to that case. Of course, my friend Mutunga and my colleague, he's also my very good friend. But I can tell you, sometimes I wonder about him. He behaves like a sycophant because it is good for you to also take things in a serious manner.
Okay.
Anything happens today to the deputy president, the government of Kenya will be liable.
The former deputy president?
The former deputy president. Okay. Of course, the elected deputy president and the second deputy president of this republic.
Okay.
If anything happens to him, GOK must be responsible. If anything happens to him today, the government of Kenya will be liable.
Okay.
And let me tell you, it is in the interest of a genuine government to be concerned of such high-profile people. He's a high-profile person. He served in an office that he was the second in that office. It is in the interest of government to protect him, whether in office or even out of office. Actually, our constitution guarantees the right to life.
Okay.
He has been attacked severally. In Shamata, he was attacked. In Limuru, he was attacked. There have been several attempts. In Nyeri, there were attempts. The IG has not said anything about it. It is suspect. Today, I have told you, police were withdrawn. There was a formal request by the church.
Okay.
They knew the deputy president was coming there. And they withdrew the police, leaving out him exposed. Were it not for the few security people he had and the people in the church. What do I want to tell you? We do not table evidence to Mheshimiwa Mutunga. We table them to the DCI.
At least for purposes
and
of
I have said it was orchestrated by the state. Okay. The governor of Nairobi, together with a few agencies, monitored well orchestrated and executed. The aides of the governor were in the church earlier on. And it is good for me to tell you that the deputy president himself has said the governor of Nairobi organized whatever happened today.
Yes, and so you have intentions of proceeding tomorrow to the DCI to report on this?
Let me tell you, already it is a matter of national interest. The DCI know what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
We have told them what we saw, and it is upon them. And let me tell you, they are about to do so many other things as such, and you will see.
And why are you confident that, reporting this to them would yield any fruits if you're saying that the previous attacks have not been...
They are also genuine officers in those offices.
Okay.
We have a few incompetent. The president only knows incompetent CSs that he doesn't like, but he doesn't know incompetent officers who serves in his office.
Just how incompetent are they? Allow us
Let me
to take
tell
a
you.
short break. We'll be coming back to that because then we have a whole 1 hour to ponder on the same matter. We take this quick short break, come back with more news and back to the conversation. Don't you go anywhere.
Coming up after the break. Gachagua goes back to the mountain after his former boss camped there for a week. But who are the casualties of the tour? After this break.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora.
Okay, and of course to more news. Lake Victoria and Lake Turkana, which lie between miles apart, have been known for their fish production. However, the source of their waters is little known by many. So tonight we take you to West Pokot County, popularly known as a county of hidden treasures. And among those treasures is what is known by the locals as Daraja Mungu, one of the tributaries. And TV47's Andrew Juma visited the area, which is believed to be a source of 2 rivers that supply water to the 2 lakes in the 2 counties, and filed the following report.
West Pokot County is known as the county of hidden treasures. 417 kilometers from Kenya's capital, Nairobi, we arrive at Daraja Mungu, a valley of life with residents enjoying the cool breeze. The place lying between the border of West Pokot and Pokot South sub-counties. This is the source of 2 rivers, River Muruny, which drains its water into Lake Turkana, and River Nzoia, which drains its water into Lake Victoria.
Majina yangu inaitwa Rosa Limakurwai. Hapa Daraja Mungu tulifika ikiwa inaitwa Daraja Mungu. Tulifika ya kwamba hii maji inakawa mara 2, yenye inaelekea Turkana na yenye inaelekea Victoria. Kwa hivyo hapa inaitwa Daraja Mungu sababu tulifika tu ni Daraja Mungu.
Hii daraja vile inaitwa daraja ya Mungu ni daraja yenye tulipata tu wakati sisi tulipozaliwa, tukakuta wazazi wetu wanaita daraja ya Mungu. Ukiangalia mkono wangu wa kushoto kuna maji inatokezea hapa chini. Na hiyo maji kitoka ikielekea hivyo inaelekea mpaka Lake Victoria, ikielekea mpaka labda Uarabuni huko tunasikia ni Misri. Kwa hivyo hiyo maji haiwezi kutana na hii maji yenye iko kwa mkono yangu wa kulia, ambapo hiyo maji inaelekea Lake Turkana. Kwa hivyo hii sehemu kulingana na sisi vile tulikuja tukapata ni kwamba ni Mungu mwenyewe ndio alitengeneza, kwa sababu ukiangalia hii barabara all the way kuna mlima moja iko juu inaitwa Kasangor. Huko juu hakuna daraja hata moja all the way mpaka Mount Elgon.
Hii ni kaunti ambaye iko na mali asili kwa wingi. Ukiona vile kaunti yetu iko kijiografia, ni kati ya water towers kubwa katika Kenya. Sababu tuko sehemu ya Cherangani water tower. Tunajua kuna ile ya Mau, lakini hii pia ni water tower kubwa. Na mimi ningeambia watu wale wajatembea West Pokot, msisikie tu peke yake propaganda kwamba West Pokot ni sehemu ambaye mambo ya kutokuwa na usalama iko. Hiyo tu ni sehemu kidogo kidogo kama vile sehemu nyingine ya Kenya unaweza kusema, lakini sehemu mingi ya West Pokot ni sehemu ambaye ningetaka watalii wakuja watembee, wajionee kama vile nimesema kuna mahali inaitwa Daraja Mungu, ambaye ni daraja ambaye iliundwa haikuundwa na binadamu, ilikuwa hapo, na hata lami wakati ilitengenezwa haikugusa, lami tu ilipita juu, lakini maji inapita chini katika hali tu vile dunia iliundwa.
Daraja Mungu is divided into two. Daraja Mungu a source of River Muruny, feeding its water into Lake Turkana, a lake that is known for its fish production. The source is so clean, but a few kilometers from here, the river starts. You are welcomed by dirty waters due to human activities such as unlicensed gold mining activities, which has led to deaths of locals.
Iko katika rekodi kwamba katika hii county ya West Pokot hakuna mtu ambaye ako na license ya kufanya mining. Sasa hawa wenye wanakuja kusema wako na stakabadhi, wako na makaratasi juu ya neema ya wapi, hiyo ni upusi. Ukweli ni kwamba hawa wanataka kutumia watu wenye hawaelewi chochote na kusema kwamba wako na makaratasi.
On the other side is Daraja Mungu B, supplying water to River Nzoia, which drains its water into Lake Victoria. The geography of the area is amazing since there is no hill or mountain that is known to be sources of two rivers, locals narrating to us how they came to realize the existence of this magical scenery.
Na tunadhania hapa katikati kuna tangi ambayo inakawa hii maji, na ni maajabu ambayo hatujui Mungu iliweza kuunda hapa namna gani, kwa sababu ukitoka juu Marquette huko mpaka Mount Elgon hakuna daraja, hakuna maji ambayo unaweza kucross, na maji haya yamekuwa hapa kwa miaka hizo zote, na tunawashukuru watu ambao wanakaa hapa. Hawajawahi kuintervene na mahali maji inatoka, iwe ni upande huu ambayo inaelekea Victoria ama upande huu, na ile kitu ambaye inataka kuleta changamoto ni sababu ya ukataji wa miti.
In a bid to mitigate effects of climate change, West Pokot County government, in collaboration with other environmental stakeholders, are advocating for proper conservation of environment, urging locals living around Daraja Mungu to avoid human activities such as cultivating along this place. They argue that if this is not stopped, the water source is likely to dry in future.
Kwa sababu ukusaji wa mimea, watu wanapanda kwa wingi, viazi, mahindi, na hiyo naye inaweza, kwa sababu wamelima hata mpaka karibu na mtoni, na hiyo naye inaweza changia.
The mining activities have also contributed to child labor since children can no longer go to school to attend to classes, a scenario that environment experts argue that if not looked into may lead to high rates of illiteracy level and poverty in West Pokot. The local community is, however, appealing to authorities to move with speed and suspend illegal mining activities. We tried reaching the county government leadership to address the matter, and here is their response.
Tunawaeleza watu wetu, tunawafunza watu wetu kwamba kutunza mazingira ni kutunza mali yetu. So wale wame-encroach katika sehemu ambaye inaleta maji, tumejaribu na tunaendelea kuwasihi na kuwafunza kwamba watunze mazingira, na tumeanza miradi mingi ya kuweza kupanda miti na kuambia hawa njia bora ya kufanya ukulima. Pia wale wanajihusisha kwa mambo ya madini, vile nimesema, tunajua kuna wale illegal miners ambao wameingia katika kaunti yetu. Hivi karibuni nimeweka mikakati kwamba tutawakomesha, na wale tu watakuwa wamepata kibali na wafanye mambo ya uchimbaji wa madini katika ile njia ambayo inatakikana.
Unlike other places where the phrase Daraja Mungu is associated with a river that goes underground and re-emerges at a short while, these two streams emerge from one place and heads to different destination. Daraja Mungu remains to be one of the most historical places in West Pokot County. If well taken care of, it can serve not just as a tourist attraction center, but also as a source of income to both national and county government.
Well, beautiful piece, Daraja Mungu. I too have learned something new. That incredible piece prepared by Andrew Juma, but voiced by Elizabeth Atieno. We appreciate that, immense kind of knowledge that we get. Now we proceed to sports.
Sports news brought to you by Maybets. Join Maybets leo upate free bet papo hapo. Fanya hivi, chagua home team to win, yani number 1 au draw X au away team 2 kwa game ya siku ya free bet. Weka namba yako ya simu, weka password ya account yako. Chagua submit free bet. Utapata free bet kwa account yako ya Maybets. Usisahau kuverify account yako. Kama hutakuwa verified, utapoteza free bet yako after 2 days. Betting is strictly for 18 years and over. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. BCLB number 0000578.
Maybet na minia na najishindia. Pesa inavutia, pesa inavutia.
All right, the National Rugby Sevens team, Shujaa, settled for second place in this.
Sports news brought to you by Maybets. Join Maybets leo upate free bet papo hapo. Fanya hivi, chagua home team to win, yani number 1 au draw X au away team 2 kwa game ya siku ya free bet. Weka namba yako ya simu, weka password ya account yako. Chagua submit free bet. Utapata free bet kwa account yako ya Maybets. Usisahau kuverify account yako. Kama hutakuwa verified, utapoteza free bet yako after 2 days. Betting is strictly for 18 years and over. Play responsibly. Terms and conditions apply. BCLB number 0000578.
Maybet na minia na najishindia. Pesa inavutia, pesa inavutia.
That's the much we had on news, and we're back to the conversation, the Mount Kenya tour by the president, and of course we take a look at what has played out thereafter, the reactions that we continue to get, the revelations that we have seen, that is the political revelations, and what is likely to culminate out of this grand one-week tour. And of course, in studio still, we have Ngogoyo, Onesmus Member of Parliament, Kajiado North. Mheshimiwa, you will forgive me if I pronounced your name wrong, but I'm sure I got it right. And we also have Professor Macharia Munene and Dr. John Mutunga, the Member of Parliament, Tigania West. We go straight to this bite by the Nyeri Governor, Mutahi Kahiga, who tells us just who is the king of the mountain, perhaps not directly, but equally saying that maybe it is not the president, as many would want to argue as it now.
Rais ni kingpin wa Kenya, lakini pengine sio kingpin wa mlima. Ukimwona mwambie Mheshimiwa Rais, wewe ni kingpin wa Kenya, lakini kwa mlima una wenyewe.
All right, and of course, Professor Macharia Munene, what do you make of the development tour of the mountain? Has it yielded any form of fruit for the president? That 2027 looks good. I know, looking at this vote-rich region.
Well, it was a desperate move.
Uh-huh.
Nothing else. It's political. In the sense that Gachagua refused to stay in the oblivion.
Okay.
It was the minute he was impeached.
So it was a test that the president was making of the mountain's grounds.
It was just to let people know I'm still there. It's a campaign mode. Mainly because Gachagua was looking as if he's getting very popular. More popular than when he was deputy president. Actually, as deputy president, he was not popular. But as person who was removed wrongfully, according to some people, and then he did not stay impeached, came out.
Right.
So that in itself seems to have scared the Ruto camp in such a way that it acted in desperation, tried to be seen.
Okay.
And before even coming to the mountain, he went to a lot of places. And you saw there being on car roofs. You know, back in 2022, 2021. And forget about the running of the country, but that political visibility was the main thing. And all the time it was a building up to visiting the mountain. And yes, he did visit, and he was received as a visitor. You know, it's good manners to receive visitors. It's not, and in fact, it is very bad manners to be hostile to a visitor. So that part it was expected.
Okay.
The fact that there were some people were organized. You know, the crowd was organized. That in itself is something else. But that is not to deny the fact that they are curious people. The fact that if some famous person is passing there at Inani, also they just go and see.
Okay.
And that doesn't mean anything.
Not knowing that there are others who have been.
Yeah, those who are facilitated.
And you're certain that this is, I mean, these are some of the revelations that are coming up, whether true or not.
There is facilitation. These two politicians can tell you that they are
there was massive facilitation.
Then at least that's what we are getting in the media.
Okay.
In the news, and all the newspapers, they talk about this. And how much was the facilitation? Ranging from 300 to 10,000.
Yeah.
So, and millions for the organizers. That's what we are being told. Either way, the orchestration was good.
It worked.
It worked.
Magic for them.
And,
that a hostile Mount Kenya turned out to be very friendly.
I think people had been saying there's no need of being hostile.
No need of refusing the money?
You know, if the money is there, take it. And then, and then you still have 2 years to make your mind, make up your mind. But generally, let's say the mountain, is that the mountain is not very happy with the president.
We will be coming to that and getting to understand why you say that.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Then with the governor, and you're saying the president should be told he may be a mountain, a kingpin of the country.
Yes, but not
of the mountain.
But he too was there when the president visited his county, and he said, "We had missed you kidogo."
Yeah.
You know.
Well, he's a politician, so
you'd expect for him.
You expect this. I mean, he's got a visitor in his house. He's not supposed to go around saying nasty things.
Okay.
So he said, "Welcome." That's normal.
Good manners.
And it's good manners.
Okay.
And in the mountain, there's no such a thing as a king or kingpin.
Okay.
In the first place, the people in the mountain don't believe in kings.
Is it so?
Yeah, they don't.
Okay.
They rejected the idea a few generations ago, the Iraqi generation.
That even the former president, at least if we're going to look at the closest, was not a kingpin in any way?
Oh, he was just a leader.
That Kibaki was not?
No, he was a leader that people accepted. Didn't make him a king.
Okay.
But this misuse of the term kingpin, creating an image which is not real.
All right.
You know, that somebody has to be a king. No.
Neither here nor there.
But Gachagua himself had used the same terminology.
Yes.
He had called Ruto the king of Kenya, and he claimed to be the king of the mountain.
Okay.
That's when he was the number 2. You know, before things went haywire. So they have that kind of misuse of language.
Interesting. And he wanted to be a kingmaker according to the president, and therefore he asked for 10 million. Well, 10 billion, yeah? We'll be coming back to that. But Mheshimiwa Dr. Mutunga, that this was not, would you make, what do you think? Was this a development tour, having been a beneficiary, or an assessment tour of, you know, the political damage that the former deputy president has caused?
Thank you very much. First of all, if you speak anything positive about the government, the Gachagua followers call you a sycophant.
Okay.
So I'm not surprised.
Even when it's evident.
I'm not very surprised.
Okay.
So it is normal, because they follow faithfully without asking questions, then you're a sycophant. Now, the president went to Nyanza. He toured Nyanza thoroughly.
Yes.
He inspected development projects, made promises, and also launched several others.
And Western too.
Why was it not an issue? He went to Western, and he did as much. He went to Coast. He did the same.
But Mheshimiwa,
he came back to Nairobi. Now, excuse me. What is wrong with going to Mount Kenya? Let me just get to know that.
It is an issue.
What actually is wrong?
The people of Kenya are looking at some of the promises that the president...
Are you saying that the president should just have...
That perhaps have not been achieved, and therefore they are asking, at the mountain...
Let us speak like Kenyans.
Okay.
We know there are challenges in this country.
Okay.
My friend Kahoya and I sit in parliament, and we know what is in the past. We know that this country has reached the ceiling. You cannot continue borrowing. We know that you have to continue paying debts. We know that we have commitments that you need to meet. We know that the development resources are dwindling. They are shrinking by the day. Even the last supplementary, I kind of ate a little bit of development into recurrent. Now,
is this what the president tells us when he visits these areas? Or he shouldn't as the head of state?
I do not prepare presidents.
Okay.
And I wouldn't probably expect him to say that. I'm saying what I know is the reason why we are where we are right now. When a president decides to visit a region, he does not need to do preparation to visit a region. Because the argument on the table is like, he really did all this so that he can visit Mount Kenya. That's not the issue. The issue is that he has always gone around the country to visit these people and interact with them.
What do you mean?
Now, remember, the president was there in February last year.
Okay.
Was there a problem? Was there a problem in Kenya at that time? No, there was none.
Maybe not.
He was in my constituency in February last year, and he promised us 11 different issues, 11 projects, 11 development initiatives in my constituency. On February 28th last year.
Did he deliver on those ones?
He has delivered on all of them.
Is it?
Apart from 2 that we are still trying to do. He delivered in all of them. Okay. I can tell you for sure. I can read them maybe you wish. You want to hear them? I can give you. Number 1, he visited Kaurumo TTI, and he found students standing from the tents.
Okay.
He asked me, why is this? I told him, we do not have sufficient tuition blocks.
And
we are opening a tuition block that day.
Okay.
Then he said, okay, then we need to do another one. And he said, I will personally contribute 10 million shillings towards construction of a tuition block.
From where?
From his own money. His
pocket?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he contributed. And the ministry contributed 8 million. Okay. The institution contributed some more money. The tuition block is now on 2nd floor, going up, being built. He promised.
We get lost when politicians have to go back to their pockets. To fund some projects that are...
Why do you get lost? Because before I became a politician, before I became a politician and sank several boreholes and put up a school and educated children, why is it wrong It's just, if you have some money, why don't you donate to the people?
Just how dangerous is this? And perhaps we need to understand it some more. Because I remember when Mike Sonko was trying to push with the Sonko rescue team, and on the other side, working for the people of Nairobi using the county funds, there was a bit of confusion. And of course, this actually was even challenged at the level of the courts as to, I mean, we really need to get clarity.
Are you saying that people like Bill Gates and
there's actually
and Ford Foundation should not be philanthropic? Are you saying that there's something wrong with philanthropy?
Just, okay,
is there anything wrong with
Professor,
that?
you could educate that us on that.
No, let me first of all go back to what the professor said, and I'm very surprised, by the way we can be misleading, especially intellectuals, misleading Kenyans, and telling Kenyans that the people were paid. I would like one person to be singled out from where the president visited in my constituency, and to say exactly how much they were paid, if they were paid a cent. We just had the title deeds issued. We had a project that was complete and it was opened, and people went home. I actually left with the team that had come with the president.
Okay.
So when we talk about this payment, you just notify the people that the president is coming at point X. If payments occur in certain parts of this country, it's not in my backyard.
Okay.
It never happened there. So when you tell Kenyans that people were paid, can you give us evidence of payment? For instance, can you tell me who was paid in my constituency?
And because I did this. See that it's coming from the president, the payment.
Now, the president does not pay to visit people. He does not live in the backyard. If people know that the president is visiting, from when I was a child, we have always volunteered to go and listen to him.
Okay.
Always. It's not really just courtesy, but because a visitor has come. But there's something new and different by having a president in your backyard. Okay. It's new, it's different. He had never visited that part of the country. I took him. The country said, he brought us the title deeds, which have taken since independence
for you to get
be processed.
Okay.
So we got the title deeds. Is it wrong? What is wrong with that? People are happy today. They are picking titles from their village. They are not picking from the office of from the land registry. They are not spending time on the way to go and pick the titles and so on. Okay. So that issue of being paid is actually misguided.
In the best interest of time.
We need to correct it.
Okay.
Because we were not called and told you are going to pay people so much. That's the narrative of the Gachagua team. He's the one who came up with even figures.
Okay.
So when you
1,500, 300.
If we have to smile, we have to clap.
Okay.
Those are
there's a person
unfounded.
Who's a sympathizer.
Can Kongoyo tell us here today that whenever the president visited in his place, he has always paid people?
All right, let's listen into this bite. Let's listen into this bite and also get to hear what he has to say, and in particular about
I want to say the last thing.
Make it brief.
Let me tell you one thing.
Yeah.
Somebody says here, and this professor, that the Mount Kenya people are not happy with the president and they were giving him lip service. Let me correct him by saying this.
Okay.
There are promises to the people of the region. And I want you to take this to the bank. If the president delivers all those promises, I want to tell you 100% Mount Kenya will be with him. 100%.
Okay.
It's not an issue of who is feeling what. It's not feeling, it's development.
Do you see, you talk about a shrinked economy. What are the possibilities of the president fulfilling all this?
The economy does not, I'm saying the development vote has shrunk a bit.
Okay.
But the economy now is performing.
Okay. And
the last 2 years have been very difficult. Of course, with the limitations. But the economy now is moving forward.
Okay.
There are resources to do several things. And as we move forward, most of those things will be done. And if he can, let me tell you, he doesn't never have to complete roads. If the road is progressively done for a year, he will get the votes.
2027.
What are you talking about? People are interested in development. They are not interested in narratives. They are not interested in kingship.
Fair enough, fair enough.
And in any case, Ruto does not need to be the king of Mount Kenya. He is the king of Kenya.
He's the president.
He is the president.
Okay.
Does he need so I fault even the governor of Nyeri. I mean, it doesn't have to bring that narrative. It's not necessary.
Mheshimiwa Gokoyo, we come to you, but first of all, let's listen into this bite.
Wabunge wakaanza vita kwa sababu wameambiwa wasipopiga magoti, nasikia wataenda nyumbani. So ikafika mahali hapo. Sasa nikaelezana na huyu bwana, sasa my friend, please punguza vita na hawa watu wote. Sasa ikanifikia mimi. Mimi sasa. Unajua mimi naweza kukufanya one-term president. Usipofanya hii, usipofanya hii, usipofanya hii, nahitaji bilioni 10.
As you respond to what it is that Mheshimiwa says here, that there is 2 billion to resign for Refugee, and then there is 10 billion for him to deliver the Mount Kenya vote. And of course, that is contrary to what it is that Mahesh says here. I mean, if you give them development, if you work for the people, and I think this is not unique to the people of the mountain. Yeah. It is basically what all Kenyans would say, that of course your track record can get you back to office or not. Mheshimiwa Onesmus.
On the contrary, Mheshimiwa has given some wrong indications. The Mount Kenya trip has no new project that the president launched.
Okay.
He did not launch a project. I saw him doing a tuition block in Narumoru, done by NGCDF, by the Member of Parliament, not a project from the Exchequer release, done by the national government. NGCDF is a fund that exists with the president or not.
Yeah.
I was very keen to listen whether Mheshimiwa will mention, because the president came to his area, Kirindini Mithiane Road. The president committed this road 2 years ago. Zero. Nothing ongoing. Kunene St. Anne Road in Tigania West. Zero. In all the 22 constituencies that the president visited, inspection, site visit, handing over, zero. He's using the money from what you are deducted, what you and I are deducted from the housing levy. 25% of that money is going to build markets. For your information, the markets are not done from the Exchequer release. They are coming from the housing levy. And I expected the Member of Parliament for Tigania West to talk of Kianjai Market. 2.5 years ago, the president said that he will build Kianjai Market in a year's time. 2.5 years ago.
He says no, okay.
And let me tell you, the unfortunate part is that the president went to 22 constituencies, no new project. And what he says was new is Ahiti Domba in Kirinyaga. Ahiti Domba was launched in 2017 by President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Okay.
The records are there. A video of Uhuru Kenyatta launching the project. So they repainted it again and said now Ahiti Domba is again operational.
You want to tell me there are no locals here who would raise a concern and say that, Mr. President, this is what you said the other time you were here.
Let me tell
Why is it that you...
Let me tell you, and I want to challenge the Member of Parliament.
Why don't you tell me this after the break?
I'll tell you this.
In the best interest of time,
okay.
After this short break.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's mind. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home, do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. Colored up.
Welcome back to the broadcast. Moshibiwa, we go straight to you.
So I was telling you, like Kianjai,
yes,
it's unfortunate that I expected the MP for Tigania West to at least even say his women were removed from the market that is going to be constructed. Zero construction. The president said it on local media that I am constructing Kianjai. And by the way, there are no William Ruto resources in this republic. The unfortunate thing that Mwalimu Julius Nyerere said, if you have to go to your pocket as a leader to do public development, that is corruption.
Okay.
And when he talked about Ujamaa, he said directly that the resources of a nation, if the nation cannot sustain itself, then there is a problem in the systems. So that you have to get 10 million from the president so that you construct. Which philanthropy is that? We are not a poor nation. We are endowed with resources. We are able to, we can convert with means and ways our resources to benefit us. We just need prudent use of resources. He talked about the budget. The budget has no problem, let me tell you. What we have is extravagancies in this government. The money we have, used prudently, without corruption, can be able to give us development that is meaningful. And I want to conclude by saying that I want to submit to you, anybody who attended the Mount Kenya meeting was paid. Actually, the member of parliament for Tigania did not have a problem with these people because at least he paid them 1,000.
Did you?
Other members, other members were eating this money. That is why
now,
you
who's
see.
saying the truth in this?
And let's agree.
No, these are liars.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you. Don't tell us that people were coming in buses and then you tell us those people are not paid. They were paid.
In the fullness of time, we were going
They were called for a meeting at Karen. They were called for another one at State House. He was part of the meeting, he knows.
And let's talk about
they sat down to mobilize.
Professor.
Lastly, allow me also to conclude by saying this. Anybody who impeached Gachagua, nobody used their conscience. Because what the president has said just now, he has said that, oh, I was told I'll be a one-term. He asked me for 10 billion. Why was it not part of the issues that were raised in the 11 issues or charges that were against him?
Okay.
Members of parliament were called. The president was in the US. He was calling them via WhatsApp. The member for Tigania, the member for where, some sycophant from Madera, another one member of parliament from Muranga.
But
I can tell you.
Gladys Boschule at some point.
And she confessed, an ally of the president, confessed that it is the president who said tutoe Gachagua. The removal of Gachagua had nothing to do. I can tell you it was all the sycophants of Raila, all the sycophants of Ruto combined, and they executed. But let me tell you, the beauty of this thing is this. In the fullness of time, he has said the economy was not doing well in the last 2 years. They were saying Gachagua was a problem. Right now, he's saying the economy is recovering. Removing Gachagua was supposed to be the solution to development. All these roads that I've mentioned to you, there is no stadium in Tigania West, no water in Tigania West.
And of course, that is
Kunene Sentan Road.
That begs the question.
You know,
these people who are there, the locals, can literally watch themselves being duped, and then again, the president comes to the same place to tell them the same lies, and that they're just happy. And of course, the mountain.
No, this time they were not happy. The sycophants were jeered.
Let me loop in, Professor. Professor, let's talk about the preparations prior to this visit and that press session that the president had with the media. And one would want to ask, was it more or less what you would want to call a press defense, or perhaps was it strategic? Did it actually achieve anything for the president? And do you suppose that then the president, is exposing himself to a sort of low-level political exchange?
It was sad for the president. He did not look good.
Okay.
And he was very defensive, which means that he had been touched somewhere. So by the time he was saying that Gachagua wanted 10 billion shillings.
And that Muturi.
And there was also, I think, Gachagua had said that he had been offered 2 billion.
Yes.
So between the two of them, they had discussed billions somewhere.
Yeah, there was a billions discussion.
So we don't know which billion is which. But they had discussed.
Okay.
Because they are both saying they discussed. They just did not agree on the amount.
Right.
Whatever it is. But it was a very sad defense by the president. Because it did not come out very well.
Okay.
And maybe he should have learned from Gachagua that there are some things you don't say.
Okay.
Because one of the problems with Gachagua, he does not know how to keep quiet.
He's a truthful man.
You can talk about that. But he should know how to, from the time he became deputy president, some people told him or made him clear, Raila and Ruto are going to get together, and he should watch out.
Okay.
He ignored that. By the time it was happening, he didn't know what was going on. And Raila has explained that part of the reason he ganged up with Ruto against the Gen Zs was to ensure that Gachagua is nowhere.
Okay.
So I mean the whole thing was very, very carefully orchestrated. So the issue of whether the trip was well organized, yes, it was well organized. And some of the cheering we saw was part of the organization, very clearly. And there were buses and the ferried people, that one is not in doubt. And for Mheshimiwa here to deny that facilitation takes places, that's living in another world.
Okay.
Not the one. So
it never took place.
We expect you to be also truthful, honest in some of these things. And it's because it's not a big secret. Okay. It happens. And
I'm referring to us.
Even in Parliament, when they vote, they come out and tell us we were bribed.
Okay.
When they tell
but we have so many liars.
Okay.
Like this Koibori. Koibori lied that we were given 2 million. He came to apologize in Parliament. It's so embarrassing. You see, when people just are loose, Gachagua does not talk the truth. He is just a loose mouth. That is the issue. That's the bottom line. He just says anything without properly consulting what he's saying. Now, let me revisit.
Do you think the president's counter was necessary now that we're talking about Rigathi,
A constant to say exactly why he had to yield to the pressure to impeach Gachagua.
And you've taken the conch from
because
unceremonious.
Professor here says billions were discussed. So in that conversation, the two of them know how much money they discussed.
Okay.
One of them talks about 2, the other one talks about 10. So there was a discussion. And that discussion could have led to demanding. You see, if you come and say, I brought 47% of the government, I'm the one who put you in office, and I can make you a one-term president. So I need 10 billion.
Which is true in a way.
Yeah, well, let me tell you something.
Okay.
The vote for Mount Kenya during the last election was not a Gachagua vote. Us as Meru people, Gachagua came to my constituency only maybe twice, spoke from up. He doesn't know my people. He has no identity with my people. He comes and says he's from Meru, but that's to us, when our lady is married from Meru, we say goodbye. End of story. You can't come and say now, I am your son. To Kikuyu, children belong to the woman. It's a different culture. Now,
it was probably a Maliza Wende vote, maybe, because they were telling President
he identified with us this time.
Okay.
Why hasn't he done anything so far? I mean, before. Why did he do anything before? Let me revisit the 2 projects or 3 projects that the Honorable
But we can't belabor on that because of...
No, I want to tell him that he does not have the context of the project.
Okay.
Kejai Market is under construction. Yes, indeed, people are requesting to move on Thursday.
He's from there, though?
They moved.
I was there yesterday.
Okay.
I'm from there this
I went there yesterday. No construction.
So the problem
but at least it was a weekend. Can we say that
the problem we have with Gachagua people is that they are all liars. They are serial liars and they lie in front of camera. They lie anywhere without sweating. If I lied like him, I'd be sweating.
They accuse the president
profusely.
But the problem we have said,
let me see
it got delayed in procurement.
Can I say this?
Acknowledge that.
He acknowledged.
Can I actually answer the question? Yeah. Can I say that this project, I've been following the construction of it. It was not given 2.5 years ago. It was mentioned last year on the 20th of January. That's when the project was promised. It was supposed to have been constructed at 50 million shillings at ESP market. But then the president came and saw how many people, I mean, how populous the region was. He said, okay, we need to improve on this project. Okay. Let's make it a 150 million project. And then we did not launch it on that day. So then of course I know, Kokoyo knows that there was a consultant hired to look at this market. The modern markets have been classified into 3 categories. There's a 500 trader market, 750 trader market, and 1,000 trader market. Okay. So ours was placed under 750 trader market, which therefore improved on the finance, the total allocation from around 50 million above the 150 that he promised on the day he was there to 305 million. That's a contract. Okay. I have seen the contract. The contractor is on site. The contractor just had a meeting with these people on Friday.
Okay, with all these promises,
the market is under construction.
With all these promises, of course, Kenyans want to understand: will this touch on the supplementary budget? Will it
the markets are funded.
Align with what the expenditure?
The markets are funded under what I told you. The money for market is available.
Okay, and not just the market, but basically all this development.
All this. Let me come back. I think I need to bring back. To say something about the roads. The Kiridine Miadhene Mekindori Road, through my effort, has been upgraded from Kera to Kena. It's a process. Okay. Initially, it was a county road. Before you could move it from county to Kena, to Kera first, and then from Kera to Kena, it's a process. It has not been given an IFMIS number. It's a process. It's not the president to do it. It's to say this road should be done. Then you, as a member of parliament, you follow the issues. So I'm following up, and this has already been given an IFMIS number under this supplementary budget, and it's going to be done. Now the other one, we have a problem with the contractor. The contractor was not brought by the William Ruto administration. It was brought by Uhuru administration. It's somebody who was protected through the administration because he was the only bidder. And being the only bidder, he also has some relationship with the former administration. And that is, we have decided to get rid of him. Come with me. He has had 3 subcontractors who have been, playing games there.
Okay.
And we are getting rid of that contractor in the next one.
Of course, the bottom line is that the people of the mountain want to see whether these promises are going to be delivered. If we're going to look at the 2027 vote, what are the probability that this could switch the minds of the mountain, a mountain that is known to vote in very interesting ways, in the sense that the previous vote, we saw them trying to say that we really are done and dusted with Uhuru, that he is our child, but we have not gotten anything tangible out of his presidency, and therefore Maliza Uende, and now they opted for William Ruto. What are the possibilities that, of course, this is going to be shifted to something that will be aligned to development? Prof.
I think once people have made up their mind, they have made up their mind. And it is not to say that Ruto will not get anything. You get some votes here and there. But once people make up their mind, the need is to ask why is it that they've decided that way. Even in the last election, when they decided not to vote for Uhuru, it was not so much because of they didn't get Maendeleo here or there. Of course, that was a concern. But they had grievances which appear to be ignored. And that really hurt. And remember, like those demolitions? And businesses and here and there. And then they were complaining and saying, wait a minute, we thought you were ours.
Right.
And this is happening in your watch. So that's how they said, no, we've had enough with you.
Okay.
It was not so much that there were not those things called development. There were some, maybe a little late, and some good roads here and there. But by the time they were being put there, people had already made up their mind. And Gachagua contributed some votes, but not what he claims.
Okay.
Given that when did Ruto appoint Gachagua to be his potential running mate?
He had traversed the mountain.
It was sometimes, was it May 2022?
Yeah.
And the election was 2 months later or 3 months later.
2 months before the election.
So by then, the shift had been made to Ruto's side.
Okay.
Mainly because there was unhappiness with Uhuru. That's what happened. So the same here. If people are unhappy with Ruto, it will not, they will not change their position simply because a new road is added there or promised and another something there. It's because it's a mind frame.
Okay.
They feel they have been cheated, they have been betrayed, and how do you overcome that? Because it's a question of trust.
Okay.
And people have lost trust in Ruto. And his challenge now is to try to regain that trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe there's not much time to that. But I want us to shift gears a bit. But before we shift gears on exactly that, we witnessed the people who, joined the president in his tour. And amongst them was, of course, the politicians themselves. But what was interesting was to see public servants actually, and in this case, the Inspector General of Police, who actually as well proceeded to say something that came across as though it was more political than what we would have expected, contrary to what we have witnessed in the past regimes, in the previous governments, and understanding very well what the Constitution and other laws of the land dictate as to, the operations of public servants and the independent institutions. What do you make of what it is that the IG did, getting into the podium and equally acknowledging the presence of the president as well as saying that hana sisi pia hapa tunafanya kazi? What does that speak as to the institutions and, the possibilities of the executive actually capturing the operations of independent institutions?
The IG is the head of the National Police Service, an independent constitutional office. This happened at Narumoru. The intention was because he's a resident of a village next to Narumoru, so that the people of Narumoru are shown that we have one of your own in this office.
Okay.
Remember, the IG is supposed to make very independent decisions. He's actually has a security of tenure guaranteed by the Constitution. His process of coming into office is not an appointee of the president. The president is only ceremonial during his swearing in. This is a person who's recruited independently by the National Police Service. This is what we're saying is a systemic capture of institutions. So that you want the National Police Service to be under you. You're trying to capture the judiciary, so we must get Martha Koome out of office. These are attempts that the president has tried to do. And let me tell you, all psychophants of the president will say it is okay, the IG should be there. But let me tell you, we had an IG called Boynet. We never saw him in presidential functions. He served for 4 years, uninterrupted. He did not resign. He served this country with dedication, dealing with different issues of the country. He never followed President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Are we getting to a danger zone? And I'd love for Prof.
Not only danger, it is a very dangerous zone. Remember, I have given you an OB number 32 of October, date 8. That has not been attended to. I reported at Limuru. I have the OB number up to date. The IG, the DCI, offices that are independent, 0. Now, when you see him in a presidential function,
what are the probabilities?
There with Kimani Ichung'wah, with several members of parliament, even with the member for Tigani, and then you expect him not to do what the president wants?
Wait a minute.
An independent police office.
Let's listen to the Right Honourable Raila Odinga as to what he says in relation to what he plans for 2027, and then we come back, respond to, of course, the going of
And I think you should show what Raila said about the markets so that the member for Tigania can see.
Let's listen into
that is not a national government job.
Mr. Director, quickly. Mr. Director, we have that? Okay, please play it.
Kwa hivyo sisi tunasema hatujaingia kwa harusi hii na serikali ili kusaliti wa Kenya. Sisi tumefanya Kenya ni muhimu zaidi kushinda watu binafsi. Wa Kenya mpaka waungane pamoja, wafanye kazi. Wakati uchaguzi ukifika, ODM itakuwa kwa kiwanja. Sio ODM itakuwa kwa kiwanja. Sasa mkifanya uchaguzi wa chama, nataka iwe urafiki, friendly match. hapana pigana sana, hapana sukumana. Huyu ni ndugu yako, akichaguliwa sawa, kama wewe umechaguliwa ni sawa, manake chama ni yenu, ama sivyo?
All right, Prof, as you weigh in on the IG matter, perhaps this bite tells us the reason as to why we probably did not get to see members of the broad base on the other side joining the president during this particular tour, because definitely that is one thing that we would have expected, and I stand corrected. If there were any actually that joined the president in the tour, then of course you can enlighten us on the same.
Yeah, on the IG, I think the IG made a mistake. And
are there repercussions to it?
No.
It ends there?
It ends there. So you cannot ignore the president.
Is it so?
So the president says, Salimia. So maybe he should just have waved and
left it at that.
And I'd say nothing.
Okay.
But talking was a mistake on his part. Now, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, he was always going to be on the 2027 team.
Oh yeah, you said that sometime
yes, always.
back. Yeah.
You know, it was clear.
So it's actually not ODM, it is him.
It is him.
Okay.
Now, he has noticed that President Ruto is very vulnerable.
Okay.
He's on the weak side. So he's now coming out. You can see he's even tried to say he's not part of that. You know, he's caught in between. Is he with people or is he with Ruto? So he caught in between, he doesn't know what to do. So he says, no, I'm with the people, not with him. And, you know, so it is a political game. And Raila is very good at these games. Extremely good.
Okay.
And this is part
We're coming to you, Mahesh.
And this is part of it that you can see. Ruto is vulnerable, and he has received quite a bit of criticism for his behavior in the last 1 year or so. And he's trying to redeem himself to the public by coming out in a different way and saying, "This is you're a spokesman. I'm the one who speaks for you all the time anyway, and I've not done anything wrong. But after all, I'll be there at the ballot in the 20.
You had better know it as early as now.
Know it, so those people, the people who are now hurt with this kind of thing, not even Ruto. So these other people in opposition who thought they might harvest his absence.
The process of this.
Yeah, and so those are the ones in problem.
Okay.
But Raila, that's vintage Raila.
Okay, that is vintage Raila.
Yes.
But what does it do to the broad-based government, Mheshimiwa?
Well, before I come to broad-based government,
IG,
allow me to say that, first of all, there is the notion that Uhuru was on the ballot in 2022 around this table. That's not true. There's nobody who was voting Uhuru. Uhuru's time had come to an end.
He had his,
yeah,
the Right Honorable Raila Odinga.
But he did not. He was not seeking for votes himself.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was nowhere on the. So that means people rejected his choice with reasons. Yes. So we cannot also fully equate that to the situation we have right now, because, and the professor has clearly said it, the people of Mount Kenya did not actually vote William Ruto because of Gachagua.
Okay.
Gachagua was appointed, was given the opportunity to be the running mate towards the end of the campaign.
But were they not the calculations that were made at that point? Nani ametusaidia sana, nani ametoa resources zake sana?
Let me tell you something. If you asked us, you know, we actually made our proposal.
And
our
the president acknowledged that. And yes,
our proposal was not Gachagua.
Okay.
Yes, it is the president in his own wisdom who decided, okay, let me have Gachagua instead of the other proposal.
Because maybe Gachagua was instrumental.
Because his vote was already
mountain.
cast. People had already made a decision to elect him. So he was elected by the Mount Kenya people. Right. So the same way he was elected by the Mount Kenya, we cannot rule out the fact that, yes, there may be a few people who may be poisoned by the undercurrents, the negative vibe and so on.
Okay.
They may not be there. But largely, we will have Mount Kenya voting because Mount Kenya does not know how to be in opposition.
Okay.
Not Mount Kenya, especially Mount Kenya West.
No, that's a myth. That is a myth.
They have always been there. They would like to get more and more of development.
They've always
in their
wanted to be in
backyard.
government.
They've always been in government.
But,
so they don't know what it means.
But they were in government during the Jubilee government. They say they did not get anything. Walipata vitu mingi sana.
Walikuwa wanapata when Uhuru was given to people. Some of us did not get anything, but it was given.
All right, as we come to a close.
No, but at least the two roads. The two roads he talked about, he mentioned they were in Uhuru's government.
Trivializing a national debate onto two roads. I think it should grow up.
All right, let's proceed.
We have a problem with this gentleman. Now, let me say this. I answered about the two roads, and the two roads will be done.
Fair enough.
But they were in Uhuru's government. They were,
of course,
they were
not done. There was nothing done in Uhuru's government.
But you should appreciate Uhuru started them.
We did not fund anything.
Let's proceed. Let's proceed. To your point.
He did not even, in fact, he withdrew 2 contractors from the... No. One road was launched by Ruto when he was the deputy president, and Uhuru made sure there was no money.
All right, what was your other point?
So my final issue is this, that I think it is important for us to look at what is happening right now as part of our development process. We have not come to the electioneering time. And nobody has made a decision on where to take their vote at this particular point in time.
Okay.
Everybody is gambling. Whoever it is will come up with his own proposal, and then Kenyans will ask, what is really, people mark their leaders.
Okay.
Yeah, they will say, when you were there as vice president or deputy president for 2 years, what did you do in our village? One small thing that you did, maybe nothing. Then, of course, others will come and try their own, Now, the final thing I want to say is that the president launched many projects which are funded by the national government.
Okay.
The project in my village was actually 100% funded. This term, in this administration, 100% funded and stocked by the national government. So I don't know where the honorable member lives. I think he lives in Masailand, which Kajiado, which does not inform him significantly. He needs to get informed. The final thing is that when it comes to voting, let us not confuse these issues. When it comes to making a decision on who is supposed to sit in the highest seat in this country, people will clearly choose from their conscience. They will not choose from emotion. They will not choose from hearsay. Not from social media releases.
All right.
It will not be that.
Good enough.
They will choose
Strictly 30 seconds for each of you, gentlemen, to give us your parting shots.
William Ruto must go. He must go, and he must go.
Interesting.
William Ruto is not development conscious. He does not have an active project. He commits when he knows very well there is no funding, and we will remove him constitutionally through the ballot.
2027.
In 2027, and William Ruto must go. We must get a president and a CEO of this country who is conscious to development, somebody who believes in the country, a reason for people being cohesive, because he is not.
Fair enough. Professor Macharia Munene.
Well, it's been an interesting discussion. I think we insist the mountain is not with Ruto.
Okay.
At present. Whether that might change in the next 2 years, I don't know. But at present, it is not with the Ruto. And we saw this campaign. This was a campaign.
The crowds.
These were managed.
They don't speak anything.
These were managed. Okay. We know that. And despite Mheshimiwa's denial.
No, but it's this year, I'll give everybody 1,000. Can he produce a single person and give 1,000?
So
he talks like he lives in my backyard. Why doesn't he say so and so? Then we call him.
Let's allow Prof.
Lying will not help you.
I think next time we need to come with evidence. I'll carry the evidence.
It is necessary.
Especially for Tigania West.
It is Prof's time, yes.
Yes, and the reality is that anything can happen.
Okay.
In between.
Now and 2027.
And 2027. And as I said before, not once, Raila will be a candidate in 2027.
ODM will field Raila Odinga.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting to watch. Mheshimiwa, I don't think you need 30 seconds. You have already prosecuted your matters, yeah?
No. let me say that the presidential tour of Mount Kenya is part of his business, visiting his people, listening to their problems, and trying to try to fuel development to move faster. Because when he visits a region and finds that things have not moved so far from where he left, he will definitely ask what happened. So I think the tour was important. Yes, it was planned. We sat down and agreed on where the president would go. He would not have gone everywhere because we have 10 counties. Yes. And he could not have basically, inspected every project that there is. He inspected those that we thought were, necessary. Yes. And this time around, I can assure you, the president did not promise anything that he is not sure of.
Okay, interesting.
One small thing.
Not a single one.
Just one small thing. That's what. I think it is very unfortunate for the government to appear to be sponsoring goons. To appear.
Okay.
It's actually
to be alleged.
It's an allegation as it stands.
Let me say it's an allegation. It is extremely wrong for anybody to allege that the government is without evidence.
Thank you.
And that is the narrative within
Dr. John
Gachagua
Member of Parliament, Igania West, as well as Professor Macharia Munene, political historian, and Nguguyo Onesimus, Member of Parliament, Kajiado North. Thank you so much for the great insights. We look forward to host you some more, even as we continue to have a discourse as to where we take the nation. My name is Linda Alela. It was great having you, appreciating the entire team for taking us all the way up until this point, and you back at home for the immense feedback that unfortunately we would not go through. But we look forward to see you again next Sunday. And of course, it's a pleasure to have yourself a lovely week ahead.